Alright, welcome back to a new video, and as you can tell, we are not in my workshop. We are somewhere completely different. We're currently in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and staying with my good friend John Ludwick and his girlfriend Kayla. My wife's here as well. I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you the patina paradise. John has some unreal cars, as you can see behind me, and this workshop is insane, by the way. It's absolute madness. I've known John on the internet for a long time, and I've seen his cars for a long time, so to actually be in this workshop looking and touching these cars is mind-blowing, to say the least. Like, unreal, absolutely unreal, because like I said, I've seen these cars for years, seen so many pictures of them, so many videos, and to actually see these cars is pretty surreal. Absolute madness. It's bizarre. It really is bizarre, and I am just super excited to see those things that I've seen online up close and personal. No, just to touch the cars, because for me, like the 700 and the Corvair, seeing those up close and just being around them is unreal. John's just doing some work at the moment, so when he's down, we're gonna have a little chat about the cars, give you guys a quick rundown and show you what's going on, what's been done to the cars, what the current projects are, but I'll quickly show you around some of them. But my personal favorite first is the BMW 700 right there. I love this car, I'm obsessed with it. It's even smaller in real life than it looks in pictures. It's unreal. I love this thing. It's so cool. It sits so well. Just like the patina, the colours of it, every single little detail about it I absolutely love. All the imperfections. I love the 50/50 bumper. That's so cool. Little details over it. It's just one of those things you can look at for hours and hours. And all the little details John's put into it. Now John also has a laser engraving business, so he does a lot of merch for people. He does his own merch, obviously, merch for other people, awards for car shows. So obviously he utilizes, his work equipment and his skill to elevate the builds and take them to the next level. I can't say enough good things about John and his work. It's inspirational for me as well, because like I said, I've said 3 times already before that I love what he does, and it's definitely been a huge motivational boost for me to see these cars. I absolutely love it. So the interior, it's super cool. I'll do some B-roll stuff, obviously, just showing you the details of the cars. That's a 700 right there, obviously, and this is the Corvair, obviously both on air ride. This thing's wild. Chop roof, absolutely laid out, so cool. You can actually see down there, that's the floor. So cool. Again, the patina finish, unreal. tucking on the back. This thing's way bigger than I thought it would be. I knew it was big, but scale wise, it's, yeah, super, super cool. And amongst all this stuff, John's current project, which is I can't remember the exact year, so John will fill me on the details, but it is very, very rare auto union. Obviously this one needs some work. As you can see, it's very much a work in process, but once it is done, it's going to be unreal. Now, if we go around here, you can see the base, which is a beetle pan. It's been shortened, so everything obviously lines up, wheel wells, it all works. So obviously a lot of fab work, a lot of metal work is involved, but it's not the first time that John's put a beetle pan onto something. 700 there has a beetle pan, shortened way more than this one. Again, John's gonna run over all these things in far more detail than I can, and yeah, get some details. And equally as impressive as the cars are, this workshop is unreal. So let me show you, or try and show you, the full kind of extent of the workshop. So behind me is obviously the door I came in. You know, you've got so much room. It's 2-post lift, and you got this, obviously the Corvair, auto union, loads of space. He's got his laser engraving business there. And then upstairs is where John lives, which is amazing, which is basically every car guy's dream. I think we can all agree. Having somewhere where you can live, come downstairs, work on the cars is an absolute dream come true. And yeah, he's very, very lucky, very, very lucky. And I'm incredibly jealous that I haven't got this. I think my wife is stoked that I don't have this, because I would just be in here all day long. It's just an overload. I would be losing my mind if I had this. And in the UK, to have something like this kind of building, is very, very rare. Very, very rare. Just have to, you know, a private workshop this size is, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, again, kind of surreal, but very, 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 very stoked to be here. So let's cut to John and I, and yeah, we'll fill you in some details. So before we go into in depth of any of the cars, we're going to go out for a quick ride in the 700. No seat belts. We don't know, man.
There were some, but I took them out, put them in the Corvair, and then I realized seatbelts probably won't save your life in this car.
Might as well be comfortable.
So this is technically only the third drive with the motor in it. So
nice.
I don't feel like we're in like confident territory yet.
Hey, but at least there's someone else to push.
Yes.
Right? Dude, the looks you must get in this thing.
It never gets old, and no one ever gets used to it.
It's amazing. That sounds good.
It gets up and scoots.
Yeah,
too.
man, it's great.
That's a stock 1600 dual part in a tiny little go-kart of a 700.
In a matchbox.
And it's a nice floaty ride. I mean, we're tucking like hubs front and rear right now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, dude. It's nice to have that comfort, you know?
Yeah. This is a real rough road, too.
Yeah, I know.
And it rides real well. I mean, the rockers are like 1.5 inches off the ground right now.
It's doing great. It's comfortable.
It is. It's not bad.
It's really comfortable. Literally, like, after like half an hour driving the Brat, I'm just like, I want to get out.
Yeah,
But this is great.
I've done 3 hours each way to a car show.
Yeah, I think like that's easy.
And you can kind of just like scoot down and like relax.
So he said thank you. He was like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, thanks. Oh, what the hell?
Is that a car?
I'm like genuinely blown away
At how like quick and like comfortable
well,
it
yeah,
is?
like just how together it is. Like as a package, it's like it's comfortable. Like it seems, I don't know, it seems pretty easy to drive.
Yeah.
And it's got speed. And it sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
All right, we're back at John's house now because we decided that the side of the road probably wasn't the best place to film anything. I've been struggling to comprehend this car and like put it into words without sounding like a complete moron. After seeing this car, like I've seen this car like for years, like online, and just to see it in real life and to drive it, which is an absolute honour.
Riding it and then driving.
Riding it and drive it, it's just mind blowing. Like I've just been like. Just sounding like an idiot all day long and slapping John, so sorry about that, mate.
It's made me like more rejuvenated on the car though, because
Yeah.
I told you I get lost, as it's your own car, you get lost in the checklist, the unending checklist of things to do or things to fix, and it just becomes this time suck and money suck and all that, and you forget about the like aura of the car itself and the presence it gives off. Until a friend like you comes over, sees it in the flesh for the first time, freaks out about it, and then just has like the greatest day ever just going to get coffee and go get food in it.
Yeah.
And so it makes me realize what the creation is, what the overall vision to fruition, that like it helps bring me back to base about like how excited I should be. Yeah, how excited I should be about the car and not constantly complain about all the things that I have yet to finish on it.
Yeah, because you get so obsessed with the details, don't you? When it's your own builds, that you kind of overlook like the bigger picture. Because I'm the same. I get obsessed with like the little things that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much the same for most people like us. We just get obsessed with things and just kind of get completely lost in the whole thing. But tell us about the car, because a lot of people obviously don't know what it is or what's been done to it.
For a full story on the car, I'm sure Chris will plug it at some point.
I will.
There's a video of, I basically filmed everything on the project. My father and I built this car together, and I filmed every step of the way, meaning to do episodic vlogs of the build, and just got too lost in the project to do that. So ultimately later on down the road, it was probably in the last 2 years, I finally put out an episode of accumulation of all of that footage. So there is an episode on my YouTube channel that shows everything visually from how I found it in the woods all the way up until basically now.
That's amazing.
But to give you guys the long story short of it, it's a German market. So this was originally driving the streets of Germany, 1960 BMW 700 Sport Coupe. Now, the BMW 700 was the Isetta 600 successor. So the Isetta and then the Isetta 600 were two-cylinder, air-cooled, 3 then 4-wheeled cars. The little cars with the little front end opened on. So the Isetta 600 was a longer wheelbase, 4-wheeled version of the Isetta. And in the late 50s, BMW was facing bankruptcy. The 507, the V8 Roadster that they had designed in the 50s, was basically tanking them. They'd lost the money on every single 507 they made. Elvis Presley was famous for owning one. It's kind of like a pretty famous car that BMW made. But they were being tanked by the car. So in the late 50s, they were scrambling to design a car that would bring them back from the brink, basically. And the 700 did just that. So this car's fallen into obscurity, but it's the car that saved them from bankruptcy.
That's amazing. So John is going to give us like a rundown of what's been done to it, and there's a lot been done to it.
We could be here all day talking
we could be here like all day. It's overwhelming, to say the least. It really is, and hats off to you, dude, because it's incredible. Like I'm just blown away.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'm just like I feel so lucky that I've got to not only just see it in real life and drive in it and drive it. Like it's just mind blowing. But yeah, so much has been done to it. So much under the skin of it.
So essentially, it sat in the woods of northern New Hampshire, where I'm from, for decades. A guy up in northern New Hampshire who was like a one-man mechanic, basically, on European cars specifically, had been working on a 700 for a client of his that was in really good shape. And he'd always tried to buy it from him. And basically, the guy said he was moving, and before he moved, he would sell him the car. So in anticipation of owning this nicer 700, he found this one a few towns away in the woods behind someone's barn, basically. So he acquired this one for free as already a left for dead car as a parts car for the future ownership of this nice one. He went and got it and brought it to his place, where it sat in the woods behind his place with 100 other BMWs and other crazy cars. So when he had acquired it, it had already been sat for a couple of decades, 15 years or something, non-running, rusty, rotted. Brought it to his place, parked it up behind the shop, never acquired the nice one. So this sat for another 20 or 25 years, right? So this thing had been sitting for 40 plus years.
That's crazy.
In the woods of New Hampshire. Heavy, wet, wintry, heavy snow load. The thing never really got a chance.
Becoming part of the ground.
Yeah. So I befriended the guy who owned it, not because I wanted this car. I didn't even know he had this car. But I befriended him and really just enjoyed swinging up to his place to hear him tell crazy stories. That's basically it. Once I learned that he had one of this specific car sitting out back, I was obsessed. Ultimately, we came to a deal. I was able to acquire it. It was a unibody car. There was nothing left of the floors. You'll see in my episode of my father and I having to basically ratchet strap the body together in order to move it without it falling apart. So essentially, we put it on a Volkswagen Beetle chassis. We had to shorten the Beetle pan by over a foot, by almost 13 inches, to meet the wheelbase of the 700 body.
And that's a huge amount.
A big amount. Now, most of any air-cooled guys watching this would know that 12 3/4 inches is about how far you need to narrow it for a dune buggy project, basically, for a dune buggy body. So we shortened it by that much. We narrowed the front. I didn't tub the rear, but we cut the centers of the wheels out. These are the stock Beetle wheels. We cut the centers out and moved them out to create a higher offset. So we could get the whips and the tires underneath the car, so when we aired it down, it could tuck the tires. So we've got a ton of work into cutting the wheels apart and then re-welding them, balancing them, which we did with rudimentary shop implements. We used a brake lathe to jig the wheels up and cut the welds out. And then we used a spring compressor screw jack to slowly push the faces out farther, like equally. And then we tack welded them. And then we put them on a wheel balancer to act as a truing stand to make sure we had them welded straight, and spun them until they spun true, re-welded them up, put them on the car. And we basically had to build, I guess for lack of a better term, a tube chassis inside the body to give the body itself the rigidity it had lost from rotting away for so many years, and to also line body mounts up to mount to the Beetle pan itself. So my dad clocked in, I think, he kept track of the hours better than I did. I think he wrote down about 900 hours
That's wild.
Into the project. And it wouldn't surprise me if we're 1,000 hours in on everything.
It's crazy.
So it's Beetle powered now. It was rear-engined, 2-cylinder air-cooled from the factory. So now it's still rear-engined, still air-cooled, but it's got a 4-cylinder in it now.
And it goes. It really goes.
It had a 1500 single port originally, up until literally a couple weeks ago, and I just put a 1600 dual port in it, basically out of necessity, but I had a bigger motor, so I put the bigger dual port motor in it. And as you know, this was the third drive ever with this motor that you and I just went
It was
for.
great. Like,
and it rips.
Yeah, like it's so fast, and it's so comfortable. It's so
smooth too.
Yeah, well put together. It doesn't feel like a bone shaker or anything or like, it's painful to drive or like exhausting to drive. It's just exhilarating and fun. And you spent like 3 hours driving it to shows, like, plus one way.
I've been 6 hours in this car.
6 hours, okay,
round
that's
trip. 3 hours one straight
and like I can see why like you've done that, because it's enjoyable. Like it's so well put together. It's nuts. Like I sound like an idiot trying to explain it. I really do.
Part of the custom work we had to do was we had to make the sills from scratch. There were no rockers left in the car, so what you're seeing here was flat sheet metal that we put in a metal brake, and then underneath where the curvature of it is, we put over a piece of well casing, big well pipe, and hammered it to get the curvature right, and put the pinch weld on it and everything. So all of this is custom. We built it from scratch, put the threshold on it. You can see here where we built our floor extensions to meet the beetle pan itself, because the beetle pan angles in and up. So all of this is added extension to meet the new rockers of the 700 body. Custom seats, I upholstered the seats. Lots of laser cut and laser engraved little tidbits in the car that I made myself. The 3P airlift control stand, the cell phone holder, the leather mat with the BMW logo in it, the alternator dummy light, radio, block off plate, that's all laser cut, laser engraved. The horn button and the steering wheel, that's a Beetle steering wheel that I altered enough to make it look not Beetle. I cut the horn ring off and smoothed everything out, and then I made a BMW center button for it to make it look more BMW.
Yeah.
I used the vintage BMW logo since in 1960. They were using the old logo.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I just assumed that that was the wheel.
No, that's a Beetle wheel that had a big horn trim ring on it that I cut off and made it look like it was never there at all. And then, and then replaced the Volkswagen Wolfsburg logo center button with that 2-color acrylic one that I laser engraved. And there's like small little Easter eggs everywhere, including the hood straps. They have the Ludwig's Garage logo engraved in them.
I'll put a link, obviously, to John's YouTube channel and his website and like all the work he's done. It's incredible. Hats off to you, dude.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you were able to come and actually enjoy the car.
Yeah.
When Ben Walker came out from England last October, we left the driveway with it, and that's when the single port like gave up.
Oh.
And we didn't even he didn't even get a chance to go for a ride. Such a bummer. So at least we got a chance to actually go for a drive.
Yeah,
this thing.
and like in an amazing weather as well. Like it's been a bit rough the last kind of few days, but
cold,
but you know it's the sun's out, and we were just cruising around town, like downtown Chattanooga, and getting all the looks from people. It's just so much fun. But yeah, so that is the 700, and tomorrow we're going to dive into the other project. I thought this episode was going to be quite short, but I think it's going to be quite long.
This might be, as you say, you could make this its own episode.
Yeah, I think it's like might be a couple of parts, like just filming here, because there's so much to look at. It's just overwhelming.
We haven't touched the Porsche project yet.
Yeah,
the
like
Auto Union project.
Yeah, like there's, I mean, like there's the Auto Union in there that you probably can't see because it's dark, but you've got 2 of those.
Yeah, there's one in the trunk.
There's one in there as well. So
and there's only, they say, the DKW Auto Union Club of America say there's only like 10 or 12 known to exist in America.
Just wild.
Not including these 2, and there's 2 in this driveway, which kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it's insane, and you know the plans that John's got for that Auto Union, it's gonna be incredible. So yeah, we'll touch on that in a bit. And the Corvair is next. Right, so we've got the Corvair outside, so we have a really good look around it. Again, this is a car that I've seen for years and years online and always wanted to see in real life, and yeah, still surreal just to check it out.
This car kind of has like a similar story to the BMW 700 in the way of it was parked and left for dead. The story I've been able to piece together on this car is it was parked in 1973. It's a 65, so it basically was on the road for 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, yeah, because it's a 65. And there was a 1973 registered plate on the car when I went to go look at it. And it was at a body shop that had been sitting for 41 years, but it had sat on the pavement. So it stayed dry underneath. It had been in the grass or in the dirt, especially in Massachusetts, was where this was. This was in northern Massachusetts, a town called Chelmsford. It would have rotted right in half, because I've got a parts car that sat in the grass for 30 years and there's nothing left. It just rotted right out. So it sat on the pavement, so it stayed solid. And basically, it was on Craigslist, and it was listed for like $1,000. There's one photo of it. It was like a front corner shot in the rain. You could tell I had patina, but you couldn't really see anything else. But but it stated that it was a 4-speed. And the manual Corvairs are super hard to find now. They're all
Right.
Power Glide automatics now.
Oh, okay.
So I went to go look at it simply because I thought maybe if this guy let it go for super cheap, it'd be worth buying for the drivetrain.
Yeah.
Went to look at it, got my jack out and jacked it up and got underneath the car and realized it was solid. And it was worth saving, essentially.
Yeah.
And my father and I had always talked about chopping the roof on a late model Corvair. We thought that a roof chop
Yeah.
late model Corvair, especially on air, would look awesome. So when I noticed how solid it was underneath, I called my dad and I said, hey, I think I found the Corvair we're going to cut the roof off of.
Let's go.
So the guy was in the process of crushing cars at this body shop because the city of Chelmsford was making him clean up his yard of unregistered vehicles. 'Cause
Right.
he didn't have a junkyard license or scrapyard license. So you could tell that there had been cars parked next to this for years as well, and they were gone. There was like footprints of cars.
Right,
And this
okay.
was the next,
Next
one.
one.
He said that by Saturday he was taking it to
Wow,
crush it if I
okay.
didn't buy it.
Yeah.
So immediately I knew we weren't talking about $1,000 anymore.
Yeah.
If he's going to be crushing it at the end of the week. So we settled on $400 for the car.
That's amazing.
I had already gotten it running out in the yard before he came out.
Right.
There was a battery charger set up on it when I arrived because he knew I was coming.
Yeah.
But when I looked in the engine bay, there wasn't even a fuel line attached to the fuel pump. There was no fuel line going to the fuel pump. So I'm like, how are we gonna get this running?
Yeah.
But I just so happened to find a can of starting fluid underneath the car. So I just soaked the carburetors, turned the key on, and the dummy lights came on, and I cranked it over, and it started on what I'd sprayed into the carburetors.
That's crazy.
So they're air cooled. There weren't any coolant jackets that rusted. You know, there was like, they're very simple. Bought the car, $400. Came with a van full of parts too, like full of parts, just crazy engine parts, trim parts, aesthetic parts. So then we got right to getting it running. We got it running first, got it yard driving, then we moved to the suspension, and that's where we did the first amount of like fair bit of custom work.
Yeah.
To get the car to sit on the floors, to get it body drop basically, we had to rebuild the whole front end. We did a whole front new cross member. We custom built the lower control arms. We custom built tension rods. We did all sorts of front end work. Basically, the upper and lower mounts are custom. Dropouts for the shock are custom. We redid everything in the front to get everything to the ground.
And it's low, isn't it? Because you can see it's on the floor.
The floor actually touches the ground.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
like,
the whole
I'll
quote.
show you real quick.
Yeah.
That right there, that's the floor. It doesn't get any lower than that.
If it's on flat ground, you can't even slide a coin under the floor. But yeah, that's close enough.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
If it's on level ground, it won't sit flat. But
And there's nothing you can buy like suspension wise for these that like
no.
Nothing.
There's aftermarket parts for like coilovers, you know, because people race these cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, no bolt-in air kit, but definitely not a bolt-in air kit that will go this low. So we had to do the same in the rear. We had to basically like cut up into the body to put the upper bag perch up into the body more.
Right, yeah.
And essentially ran a real short shock in the rear so it could run bags and shocks, obviously. So it would ride well. And as you know, it rides very, very
Yeah, I have
well.
to emphasize how well it rides. Like we said before, like most people's impressions of like hot rods like this and cars that are that low and driving that low, they think they're gonna ride like trash.
Yeah.
But it rides amazing. It's
really
great.
does,
And I'm
yeah.
jealous. I'm so jealous.
It really does.
Because the
I mean-
Brat doesn't ride like that.
With a
It's
small
getting
tire
there.
too. You know, with
Yeah.
a small tire, you feel every imperfection and indent in the road.
Combined with camber and things like that,
Right.
and like a stretch tire, all those things you would have thought would add up to something that's uncomfortable.
So to have a
But it's really not.
205/40, to have a 205/40 on a 9.5 inch wide wheel all the way around.
9.5.
Yeah,
like
all the
it's
way around.
big, and it's like
it rides real well.
and they're in there like 9.5s, like they're
With
it's sort of
50 millimeter space
Yeah,
on
with a 50
because they're
spacer.
so high offset.
yeah, it's crazy. It's like, and you haven't rolled
Not really.
that. No, it's like it's incredible, and it's
Yeah,
it's a square setup, isn't it?
It
as well?
is, yeah. These to go back to we'll come back to the car, but these are 1985 Epsilon Southern Ways, and these were originally designed for here in America for the like fully optioned C4 Corvette.
Right.
Maybe the wheels weren't designed for that, but GM bought these wheels and put Corvette center caps on them for the fully optioned C4 Corvette.
Yeah.
The 5-spoke was just kind of like an easy wheel for GM to put on the fully optioned Corvette.
The Iceberg works on everything, I think,
It does,
personally.
yeah, including a 65
Yeah.
Corvair, which is why I haven't changed them. When we first finished the car, I did Krager SS's on them, which
Yeah.
are like the timeless GM
Yeah.
muscle car wheel,
Yeah.
which looked great on this car because the car didn't fit that type of aesthetic, but it had those wheels on it, so it kind of like reminded you it was a 60s GM car, even though it was a body dropped, roof chopped, air cooled Chevy,
Yeah.
which is weird. When we got the suspension done, I was almost hesitant to do the roof chop because we had never chopped a roof before,
Yeah.
and the car looked so good laid out. And we started taking some measurements as to where we wanted to chop it. We didn't want to go too far. There's two things that I was most concerned about with the roof chop: was not going too far and making it look ridiculous,
Yeah.
and not going too far to remove the smoker window.
Right, yeah.
I wanted to keep the smoker window here. So to go to the smoker window, we were going to go down about 2 inches. But that meant the roof got 6 inches longer because of the angle of the pillars.
Right, yeah.
And we weren't going to manipulate the pillar angles. We wanted to leave the pillar angles the way they were.
Yeah.
So we went to a local junkyard, which has like 20 late model Corvairs in it, which was crazy, and started roof shopping. We started looking at different roofs of all the Corvairs.
Yeah.
Until I finally found one with comparable rust to this car.
Right,
And as
yeah,
you can
yeah.
see here, from this seam back is a different color. This is the roof that we cut off of the junk car in the junkyard. This is the original roof.
Right.
Patina's somewhat comparable. You can tell that they're two different colors. But what this did was this gave us all of our contours and arches and angles that we needed, but it also allowed us to cut this roof 6 inches ahead of the cut on the original roof, giving us the 6-inch length we needed with only one seam.
Right.
So we didn't have to band it.
Yeah.
So we basically got our one seam with our 6 inches, because this roof is cut up here farther.
And I didn't know that was two different.
Cars.
Yeah, no one really does.
I honestly, I thought, oh, that's just the original roof.
Yep. If you look closely, you can see the differences in the patina.
Yeah.
You know, you can see like some of the color, and then this has no color in it.
Yeah. Now it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
But
So what we did, that was how we got our distance. That got us our 6-inch length that we needed. Then came the weird math. Width-wise, the C pillars are narrower on the car than the A pillars. The A pillars
Right.
sit out wider, right?
Right, okay.
So now it became a pie cut for our width that we needed.
right, okay.
So we had to widen it farther at the front than we did at the back. And you can see some remnants of our plug weld marks underneath these straps.
Oh.
So basically what we did was we had to put some sheet metal underneath the roof here to widen it. Wider up front. I think it was like 1.5 inches in the front to like 3/4 of an inch in the back. And when we banded it, we plug welded it using a copper block to dissipate heat to keep the thin rusty
distorted.
metal from
Yeah.
like warping. And we were able to get everything plug welded. We built like this metal skeleton, like dinosaur looking skeleton backbone inside the car to set the roof panels on. So every
Right.
time we test fit, they went to the same place.
Yep.
And what we did is we quartered the roof. So we had one corner, another corner, another corner, another corner. And we moved them out to the pillars and basically worked
Yeah.
our way into the middle.
I had no clue that it was like that involved.
I'll send you some photos of like
Please,
the process.
yeah.
'cause
It's
it's pretty wild because we'd never traversed it before.
and it's this kind of thing that like people just don't know about. They'll see it's like, oh, it's like it's just got a
Yeah,
chop roof, and
yeah.
they just don't know like the fine intricacies of doing something like this to get it to look good.
Right. The thing that people ask about are these strips. And what I did was when we got everything done, we weren't going to paint the car, so we weren't doing body work and Bondo and filler and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took the extra pieces of roof that were left over and I cut these strips to cover the seams. So basically I cut these strips out, and these corners were the same angle of the corners because
Yeah.
this was a piece of the back of this roof.
Yeah.
And then I just siliconed everything down and seam sealed it all up. And so this just gives it that avionics, like aviation look.
Yeah.
To where it's just paneled and covering the seams.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, this is my favorite part of the car, is just these strips of
Yeah.
rusty metal from the roof covering the seams basically.
That's so cool, and it's so refreshing to see this kind of thing compared to what I usually do.
Yeah, paint and like nice body work.
Yeah, exactly, and like making things as like kind of like, you know, discreet as possible, but
right.
things
I kind
like
of wanted
that.
to be loud with it. Like, we wanted exposed seams. We wanted people to look at you know, there's a seam, there's a seam, there's a seam.
Yeah.
All this is like what's going on here? Like I kind of wanted to exaggerate like what's going on.
Yeah. And then obviously you've had to, you know, obviously do perspex for the back.
I have an upcoming episode on the YouTube channel.
Okay, cool.
Of the whole build. I've been promising one for years now.
Right, yeah.
I really want to get one out soon because although I didn't have a YouTube channel, I didn't have a YouTube channel until 4 or 5 years after we finished this car. But
Right.
luckily, I filmed almost every step of the way.
Nice.
And I don't really know why. I think it's just because it was an exciting project. We'd never been this deep in a project before. But to glaze over it, my dad built this wooden, like, heat-controlled oven. Like, we built this big wooden box.
Yeah.
With suspension ceiling tile inside it to act as like an insulator to get a consistent heat to heat form this plexiglass over the factory window. But we couldn't figure out how to contain our heat and keep it under control.
Right, yeah.
And so that's how we got the rear plexiglass to form over the factory window, and then we
Nice.
trimmed it to fit the new space
Yeah.
with the new roof. Now before we step out in the sun here, I'll be clear about this. We knew going into this that Rule 101 with cutting glass is never cut old glass.
Yeah.
Like you won't get a clean break. You got to cut new glass. So I had about a week or two before I tried, and thankfully successfully in the end, drove this cross country for the most part to southern Worthersea in Helen, Georgia, 2014. My plan was to get this car done and drive it there. It was about 30 hours each way to get there, right? So that being said, we only had a couple weeks before I was going to leave for that. And I didn't know anyone that would cut glass, and I didn't know anywhere I could find a Corvair windshield. So we had our own play at cutting the original windshield. So we did crack it. We had never cut glass before either.
Yeah.
And we were watching YouTube videos of guys cutting glass as we were cutting this glass.
As you do.
There was a break in the window already, so we figured we're not going to lose anything by trying to cut this ourselves. Essentially, we cut it in a traditional way. We basically used a glass scorer on both sides, and then tried to get the glass to crack.
Come on, nibble it away a little bit.
And then as you crack the glass, we used like the lighter fluid and fire method of melting through the laminate.
The safety.
Yep, that's in the actual glass. And then we cut it with a razor, and we kind of made our way all the way across.
Bit by bit.
We did have 2 cracks take off on us, but we got the section we needed cut off, and we got the glass in the car and sealed up.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, that's such a task on its own.
It really was. And this is not ideal. Having cracks in it at all, and having cracks in it in, like, kind of where you're sitting is not ideal.
That's an MOT failure right there, sir.
People, trust me, I know. People say it fits the aesthetic, but I don't like it. I'd really like to have someone who's a professional at cutting glass cut a new windshield, and that way I can finish making my trim and get it done. As you know, many other projects take off, and this all becomes back burner.
Yeah.
But the fact that we, like, took it on, having never cut glass before, and somehow got it good enough to get in the car.
And it's lasted.
That was a victory, even though it wasn't done perfectly right.
So you obviously got the 3P system, and obviously that's all the air ride, and then all
cabin
the controls.
The charger ports in the dash I put in, and that bat handle controls those. And then the other 2, I don't know if you even know this yet. This one here is this side illumination.
Oh, okay.
And then this one here is that side illumination.
So yeah, you've got map lights.
You've got your own map lights.
That's so cool. And then obviously you got your fuses there as well. Super cool.
And that's all just for cabin fuses.
Yeah.
I still use the stock fuse panel underneath the dash.
And it all fits in with like the kind of, that aero aesthetic as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then I put the Airlift 3P manifolds right in the center of the dash.
Yeah, because you were running manual before, weren't you, on this? And then obviously you got the 3P set up, and then obviously the Ludwig's garage. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to focus on the shifter because
the Heartbeat of America logo is also laser engraved.
There's just so many things. I love cars like this because you can just literally just sit and look at them all day long and just find cool details that...
Anyone who knows me knows that the patina is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Because no car patina is the same when it's natural.
Yeah.
You know, so each car, even between the 700, the Corvair, and the Auto Union here, they all have sat in different areas in different elements, and they've all patinaed in different ways.
Yeah.
So they're one of a kind. Like paint-wise, they're one of a kind. No other car looks like this one does.
Yeah, because you get just, obviously just from the colours, you get a different kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Just from colour alone, obviously.
Yep.
This is like, this is a bit warmer feeling for me.
Yep.
I find this car's got like a warm kind of aesthetic to it, and the BMW just like a little bit colder, but if you know what I mean, it's really, really weird.
Yeah.
It's a really strange thing, but I'm obsessed with your cars. So.
I appreciate that. It makes me feel better about it.
And we've got one more thing to talk about, if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Which is inside. Well, there's one in there.
Yeah, talk about that.
One's in there, but the other one is right there, which is
The rarest of the fleet.
the rarest of the rare, and definitely, would you agree, the most ambitious of all the projects?
I think this one's the most ambitious for me personally because I'm taking this one on solo.
Yeah, because
The other two cars
with your dad.
The other two cars I built with my father, and although many of the welds on those cars are mine too, this one I'm taking on myself. And since I'm putting it over a Volkswagen Beetle chassis,
There's a bit of familiarity with it.
well, what I was gonna say is since I'm putting it over a Beetle chassis, I have to build a tubular frame inside the body of the Auto Union. So I've got to design and execute it myself. So it is a bit more daunting. I'd say as far as the level of work goes, it's the same as the 700 and it's the same as the Corvair.
And not to be insulting, but you haven't got that kind of safety net.
Right. No, it's not insulting at all because I really enjoy building these cars with my dad. And I've never once tried to push off these cars as like solely my work. I love and admire the fact that my father's like willing to take on these weird. He's a muscle car guy.
Yeah,
He'd rather build a 396 in a 69 Chevelle.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I fell into this weird niche, and here he is suddenly helping me airbag a little BMW 700.
Yeah.
So, it's. I wish we were taking this project on together because one, I'd learn a lot, and it would get done in a slightly different way than I'd probably do it because he's got different outlooks on things.
Yeah, of course.
But two, it'd get done quicker because we'd be gaining more ground.
Yeah, the experience.
Whereas I sit here and I stare inside this thing, and I constantly redesign how I want to do it in my head.
I mean, it is like, quite daunting looking. Like obviously, I've seen it, and I'll link all John's socials in the description below. We haven't actually explained what it is yet.
Yeah.
I think I may have it way at the start of the video, but take it away.
It's a 1960 Auto Union 1000 SP, and the 1000 SPs were like the coupe supplement version of the 1000s. And the 1000s were a four-door. They almost looked like the Volkswagen Beetles in a way. Yeah. The 1000 SP is a super rare, low number car. They were pre-Audi basically. So Auto Union was the union of four separate companies, and it was DKW, and it was not Wartburg. I don't remember off the top of my head, so I won't sit here and try to remember them. But basically, in 1969, Volkswagen bought Auto Union and turned it into Audi, which is why you see the four-ring logo on this car. So many people would think this is an Audi, but really, it's the original Audi. It's the Auto Union. 3-cylinder, 2-stroke car from the factory.
It's crazy.
Front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So German 1960 car with a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke, front-wheel drive, and it's a frame car. So it's a body-on-frame, not like a unibody or even a pan car. It's an actual body-on-frame. And the reason why I'm putting this on a Beetle pan is because of how incredibly rare they are. So,
I mean, I've never seen one before.
I mean,
never.
Many people haven't.
Or even heard of one.
The problem is it's too bad to cut up a car that's this rare, but this one was almost beyond the restoration phase. It was pretty far gone. So the reason why I want to go Beetle pan is I'll be able to buy parts to keep it on the road.
Yeah.
I'll be able to buy motor parts. I'll be able to buy suspension parts. The second 1000 SP I bought solely because it came with a garage full of auto union parts.
Yeah.
Which I've got 6 engines.
6 engines.
Like totes and totes full of new old stock auto union parts, crankcases, blocks, cylinder heads, generators, starters, clutches, radiators, just points, condensers, like just all sorts of crazy parts. It's allowed me to be able to piecemeal all the parts that I'm missing on this one.
Yeah.
But I'll also be able to sell the 62 that's in my trailer, that's a one-owner car, in much better condition.
Yeah, to someone that's going to do probably a nut and bolt
To do a restoration.
Yeah.
So,
And have spares, plenty of spares
yeah.
in the event that something goes wrong.
Do know that there's plenty of people that are bummed to see this one get cut up, but also it's going to see the road again in a new way. But it'll live on with a whole new life and be the first of its kind because no one's body dropped and bagged 1000 SP before.
Yeah.
So that's exciting in itself.
It's so cool because it's like, you know, that kind of like Americana element to it.
Yep.
Like obviously with the fin tails. But obviously it's got that Euro size. Yeah, you can see the kind of like the Beetle elements to it as well.
When the hood is on, it's got a little hood scoop and it really has DB3 Aston feeling front end.
Yeah.
The roof has like Mercedes Pagoda feeling.
Yeah.
And then the back is 1957 Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Which is why this car is known as the Baby Thunderbird.
That's so cool.
It exudes Ford Thunderbird styling with the huge fins back here with the single rear taillights.
I love that. I think that's my favourite view.
Me too.
The back.
Yep.
Like.
The fins are just massive.
Yeah, like. Just like this. This whole area here.
Yeah.
I love like the kind of like rear quarters like that with the details.
And what's really cool is the original Auto Union 2-stroke oil cap, fuel cap.
That's so cool.
So it basically tells you to put your oil in first and then fuel.
I bet it sounded wild.
Yeah, they sound like a chainsaw on steroids.
Yeah, like I've never. Yeah, I mean I've heard a few 2-stroke cars before, but obviously haven't had one of these.
Now let me be clear here for anyone watching. I wanted to body drop and bag this car, leaving it front wheel drive, 3-cylinder 2-stroke, because I love all things weird, and I love the fact that this was a 3-cylinder 2-stroke car.
Yeah.
But the rarity of parts and the endeavor to keep this car on the road in the future, keeping it auto union powered, was far too like scary for me.
Yeah.
And knowing that if I put it on a Beetle pan, taking on far much more work, by the way, to do this, it was going to be easier to keep it on the road, being able to just buy Beetle parts.
With something that that's serviceable. 100%. Yeah.
Now I have talked
agree.
about Corvair power planting it or Porsche power planting it, but for now I think its first iteration will have a Type 3 pancake motor in it.
Yep.
Just to get it going.
And obviously with the pancake motor, you've got the clearance.
Yep.
Because clearance has been an issue, hasn't it?
Which, if people who've watched my channel know that I bought a dual port 1600 Type 1 motor to put in this car, and the more I set it down over the pan, the more I realized an upright motor wouldn't fit, which is why this now has a 1600 dual port in it.
Yeah, which is no bad thing.
So everything gets recycled.
Yeah.
Like that motor went in
yeah.
this. And now I might be on the search for a Type 3 flat motor to just get this thing running and driving after I do all the fab work. Then maybe later on down the road, a cool motor swap would
go to a flat 6 because
would be really cool.
We love a flat 6. We really do. They sound the best.
And yeah, inside I'll just give you a kind of like an up close of just the scale of what's involved.
It is tough. I mean, as you can see, I've already braced the body up. I've cut everything out. So I've got a couple crossbars. I've braced up the doors to make sure the body stays true the more and more I cut out of it. And I'm at that stage where I really need a motor in the pan.
Yeah.
I've shortened the pan down already. I mean, this is all in my YouTube series, but I've had to shorten the pan down by 2 inches to meet the wheelbase of the Auto Union. And since it only had to go 2 inches, I took it here. So I just shortened it at the pan head, so I didn't have to shorten my shift rod or any of my linkages. But this was the obvious place to do it to avoid a whole bunch of other can of worms worth of work.
Yeah, 100%.
So just shorten 2 inches here.
And you've lowered it as well, haven't you, on the back?
Simply for mock-up
purposes, yeah.
Yeah, when I bag this, I'll probably use Eva Restore's stuff.
Right.
Eva Resto. He's in England.
Okay.
His name is Max. I might use a lot of his stuff to bag this chassis. And I won't need those drop plates anymore.
Right, okay.
But the drop plates allowed me to get the
visual
wheels where they need
sucked
to
in.
be. Yeah.
Because you've got that, the positive camber
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, you need that negative to suck it into the wells to get
And that'll
that,
allow me to
that
set the
visual.
body down over the pan far enough to start planning out where I'm
Chipping
where to
away
build
at
stuff.
bits and pieces. Yeah, dude, I can't wait to see this together. It's
Me neither.
it's unreal, and it's going to be a world first for sure.
I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Is creating a car that hasn't been seen like this in person yet.
Yeah.
So I've photoshopped it lowered, and it looks wild.
Yeah.
But the fact that it hasn't been seen in real life that low before, and we're on the path to creating that,
Yeah.
is what's most exciting.
You've kind of like mocked up like a wheel on one of your episodes, haven't you, of like how it's gonna sit?
Oh yeah.
And like this is wild because
Obviously, looking at it, you're going to be on the rockers, aren't you?
Well-
like when it's on the floor.
So I've discussed this in my channel, but I'm going to cut the pinch weld out, and I might even cut this part of the sill out.
Wow, okay.
So the back part will sit even lower, because as of right now, this sits so much lower than the back part of the fender. And since there's no wheel arch, it's going to suck the whole wheel up.
Yeah,
to
so you
there.
can see like a quarter of the wheel, maybe.
I've got a wheel and tire.
Yeah.
John showed me a picture of it. Did you put a picture up online as well? I think you did.
I
I
don't
can't.
think I can even set this up in here. Maybe.
Maybe at an angle, work it in there. I'm not mad at the Yankees though.
I know, right?
Yeah.
3 spokes on the. So essentially, let me. That's essentially it.
That is essentially what is going to happen. In fact, it's going to be even lower. You can see even less wheel than that, which is it's not even going to look real.
No, it won't. I've actually not seen that yet. Like I haven't put a wheel with a tire in there yet, so that's pretty wild looking.
Yeah, you're going to see. Yeah, there's because the lip is still lower than where you're going to cut the
think
sill.
This simulation of ground is lower than the pinch weld.
Yeah, it is.
So this would be like ride height, essentially.
Yeah, that's going to be right. It's just, it's going to look absolutely insane. You can see inside. It's a bit dark in here, but you can see, how much more work is involved. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
All right, I think we have plenty of content. Might be a 2-part episode, or it might just be one long episode. Who knows? But yeah, we'll find out when I get back home. Dude, thank you so much for having us.
It's been a pleasure having you here, dude.
Like you and Kayla, we've had such a good time already, and yeah, it's been like the best holiday. So stoked. So plug yourself, please.
Well, the YouTube, John
Yeah.
Ludwig. It's just JohnLudwick. That's just my name, and same on Instagram.
Yeah,
with a
and-
dot in between the two.
There you go. And ludwicksgarage.com for your laser engraving needs as well.
Ludwig's Garage on Instagram is probably the best
Yep.
billboard, but yeah, ludwigsgarage.com has any of the merch that I'm selling for Ludwig's Garage brand.
Perfect
as well.
And also you make a whole plethora of things, including awards for upcoming shows,
Yep.
things like that. So yeah, everything's on the table basically.
Yeah, there's a high
You-
ceiling. Yeah,
Yeah, you do it all.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
Yeah, you do
Yeah.
it well.
It's been awesome having you here, dude. It's been awesome to share these cars with you, and your reaction to just being around and being in these cars has served as a total rejuvenation for me on these cars.
Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
Seeing you react to them makes me remember how I felt when I first finished them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
well,
it's-
you had the same effect on me when you came over
Yeah.
as well, and it's just that kind of the rejuvenation and that sparks.
it's been great.
It's
been great.
amazing. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for checking out the video, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Take care.
Subscribe, you fools.